Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Extra Time with me, James Brackpool. There's no Anne-Marie with me today. She's off on a very important filming assignment. So with me in the studio today are former West Bromwich Albion footballers Graham Williams and Mick Fudge. Graham and Mick, thank you very much for joining me today on the sofa. Let's take it from the start and the start of your careers for the viewers who might not necessarily know. You both played from the Albion for many years. So Graham, we'll start with you. How did you sort of get into that great club?
Great club is right as well. I was playing in North Wales for the schools and for counties and everything like this, and Man United came for me. I was playing at a place called Flint, and we're playing Manchester boys, and they had a lot of scouts there, and Wilf McGuinness was playing for them, and Coleman was playing for them, always for Manchester boys, and I performed quite well. I was a centre forward in those days, and they put a notice in to say that they were going to approach Rill about taking me to Manchester, but the guy at Rill was a friend of Vic Buckingham's, personal friend, played together at Spurs and everything. The person, and he rang him up that night and he says, look, we've got this boy here playing centre forward come wing, and he's not bad, he's worth having a look at. And Vic Buckingham said, right, get him down at the weekend and we'll sign him. And they signed me, Vic Buckingham signed me without signing or seeing me play. So we signed, and I used to then travel from Rill as a 15-year-old by train.
It's quite the journey.
Change your crew, and I'd come there, and you'd wait for the team sheets to go up, and there'd be hundreds of boys, and there was 10 teams at that time, and you'd wait, and you'd go in the Birmingham Road end, and you'd have your bovril and your beef burgers and everything because you wouldn't eat for the rest of the day, and I'd got to go back to Rill. And things turned out well, and they signed me and asked me to come along as a 15-year-old. So I travelled every week from Rill, and then at 15, when I left school, I came to West Bromwich and joined the ground staff, which was an experience in itself.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
And so, what about you, Mick?
Well, similar really. I was 15 when I came to West Brom, but I had a couple of years playing as captain of Bristol Boys from 14 and 15. And obviously the scouts down the West Country were around and about, picking up players like, you know. And I had an offer from Man United, Man City, Aston Villa, Wolves, and I was looking at signing for Wolves, with seeing the shirt behind you. But a scout came in for me, and he said, well, come up and have a look at West Brom. And at the time, there was a player called David Burnside, who was a good friend of Graham's, and Dick Shepherd, a goalkeeper who played in the League Cup final against QPR in '66, was it? Yeah. And I played with Dick, and he was a friend of mine. So it was like I knew somebody at 15 when you go from Bristol to West Brom, which is a long way on your own, being a West Country lad, not really being about a bit. And I signed at 15, and I was lucky enough to get in the reserves latter end of the season when I was 15. And also at the same time was a lad called Tony Brown. They call him Bomber now. He's Bomber. A legend. Yeah. Goes without saying, and we were in the same digs to begin with, and then we split up after a couple of months, and he went. But we've always been good friends over the years, But then we gradually got on in the team. I got a few games when I was 15. I was a regular really at 16. Then at 18, I made my debut, And
I know you were at Albion until 67.
67.
And Graham, when did you leave?
A long time ago. I've never left the Albion really. It's my club, it's my home. Yeah. I went into digs with a lady called Mrs. Colwick, who was a lovely person and used to look after me. We used to have to be in. If I wasn't in the house by 9 o'clock. And I really fancied myself, really, walking around West Bromwich. And Walsall Park, I've just come past Walsall Park now and thinking about, used to walk around there trying to pick up girls, and the Casa Bamboo in West Bromwich.
We were Jack the Lad.
My wife. Well. We all met our girlfriends and wives.
They all met them there, didn't they, the Casa Bamboo?
Coffee bar, because you didn't have discos in
The
places.
girls, this is true. The girls used to come in the gym slips. Yeah. They used to come in the gym slips. We'd always finish, as apprentice or juniors, we would finish by the time the school was out, because we were only a couple of months older, really.
And here's me thinking you were focused young professionals.
We were.
You couldn't be nothing else.
Go down Castle, and these girls used to come in the gym slips, go to the toilet, and they'd come out, and they'd be a different girl.
Yeah. They'd have the school clothes on one minute, and then they look like film stars the next minute. You used to think, God, Jesus, you know, didn't you?
And that was the Casa Bamboo. It's got and Tro's on Sunday.
Yeah,
that's how I got my shape. I used to go to Tro's on Sunday and have an ice cream with a penny dip.
Yeah. And we had, in them days, you had one or two, like Graham was fortunate enough when he got, I mean, he was a legend at West Brom, but you used to hang about up the top of West Brom to get a lift down to training, remember?
Yeah.
Just so one of the, like Don Howe and Bobby Robson or Graham would come by in a car, because we'd all catch buses in them.
Don used to travel from Tettenhall in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
He must have started out about 7 o'clock. This is an international player, and what a great player he was. He used to catch the bus from Tettenhall to Wednesbury. He would then catch a 74 or 75 to Carter's Green in Carter's Green.
Straight
he
down.
used to change. We used to go and have a coffee in a little shop, Ralph's or something, at Carter's Green. Used to go there, and then we'd catch another bus. I would catch the bus at Hilltop, because we was in clubhouses then. So I used to catch a bus there, and then go to West Brom and there, and catch the 74 to Birmingham, 74 or 75 to Birmingham. You'd know. We had buses then, and that was international footballers.
Well, this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. You know, as youngsters at the club, I mean, you compare it to now. You get 16 or 17-year-olds coming through, and if they're vaguely talented, they're being offered huge sums of money. I mean, you guys were cleaning the senior pros' boots, weren't you?
Toilets
toilets even,
rooms, putting the kit out. You had to do what you were told, and if you didn't do that, I mean, like you had the senior pros, like your Don Howes and your Bobby Robsons, Ronnie Allen and all these guys.
Good players.
They used to make sure you didn't have a chip on your shoulder. Like I was explaining earlier, they make you sit in a bath and they fill it up with cold water.
That's if you've been a naughty boy.
That's if you've been a naughty boy. Now, you know, it's like, no, you can't do that now. You get, you know,
health and safety
and everything.
I think the biggest thing is that you would go and play at Tipton and Darlaston, and these guys that you're playing against were men, and you're like 15 and 16-year-old, and the men would come out of the dressing rooms. If you had a dressing room, sometimes we changed in some baths, Bilston baths. I come and change in Bilston baths, but you'd come out and they'd be smoking. They'd be smoking a cigarette and things like this, and you'd get in, and they'd say, "Your last game today, son." You know,
and they tried to intimidate you with that.
Just a bit, and if you finished the game, so you knew how to look after yourself. But we had a guy called Harry Ashley. What about Harry? He was in charge of the boots in there. Now, if you played badly or you chickened out of something on a Saturday and you lost a game to these so-called amateur teams, he used to put you in charge of the toilets. You used to go around the ground and clean the toilets, and the ladies' toilets, men's toilets, all around the top. And you weren't on Mondays. You weren't allowed to train. You watched the first team train, but your first job was to clean the stand, clean the boots, clean everything up, and you weren't allowed in the dressing room till Bobby Robson or Ronnie Allen, and you had to call him Mr. Robson, Mr. Allen, and things like this before you're allowed in the dressing room. And
looking back, would you say that this was a good experience for you?
Oh, it was a good grooming. I mean, you're in a dressing room, because I was only saying we went and visited Bobby Oak this morning, because he's been poorly, like Bobby, and we were only saying about the dressing room, the atmosphere and everything. We all used to mix because we never had a lot of money. You'd lend one another a few, you know, in them days. If you didn't have, you'd sort one another out, wouldn't you? It was like a good dressing room, and we all played for one another. It was fantastic. That's why I think a lot of players, well, in my day, you didn't want to leave. You got kicked out. You know, you didn't want to leave West Brom, but now they want to make these transfers. And
when you think about, and Mick and we're all the players with their 16 and 17 years, you know, so that's a lifetime, really. You know, everybody was upset if they had to leave, you know, and our love for West Bromwich is still with us now. It's the first result you look for on Saturdays. It's the first thing you look to see. So it's like a home. It's our home, really. You know, and this was brought up by the way we were brought up, the discipline within our digs. You were in good digs.
I was a
Looked at, and the lady, Mrs. Colwick, used to look after us, and the discipline that was shown. You know, and I think at the present moment, it's life in itself. The discipline isn't the same as what we had then.
Nowhere near.
You know, not allowed into a room because the senior players there, not allowed to talk to senior players unless you called them Mister. That was brought through to you, and it's over the years. We may have started off, I don't know. It's relaxed a little bit. Our parents are more relaxed with us now, or I know I am with my children and with the grandchildren. They get away with murder. But at that time, you couldn't do that.
That's very true. I mean, the half-time whistle is approaching, so in the second half, we'll be talking more about the FA Cup and Wembley. But don't go anywhere, and I'll be back after the break with Graham and Mick. Welcome back. I'm here with former West Bromwich Albion footballers Graham Williams and Mick Fudge. So, fellas, in the first half we were talking about how you got into the game and into Albion. I'd like you both to tell me your sort of highlights while you were at the club, really.
Well, mine has to be the FA Cup and the League Cup. The League Cup was the first one we won, so we were. That is the one you remember most. I think we played. It was a double header then. You used to play home and away, and we played West Ham. And West Ham were always classed as the University of Football. You know, Bobby Moores, Peters,
won the World Cup.
Hurst, and they won the World Cup, and it was regular this. But we went down there and we held them to 2-1, I think it was. But when we came back to the Hawthorns, we were raring to go. And Jeff Astle loved playing against West Ham. He played with an injection down at West Ham, so he didn't play that well on that day because he'd had this injection in his ankle. But coming up, the goalkeeper never come for crosses. Bobby Moore couldn't head a ball, and Jeff Hurst and them didn't like playing away from home. And we really got into them and got into them good and proper and sorted out. And we played good football, and that was the first win. So that was the start. And then the following year, we had another good cup run. And then the FA Cup is the main one that we won. With the disappointment in between, that was losing to QPR. I hated that. Hated everything about it.
So you'd said QPR would probably be your sort of low point, would you say, of your Albion career?
A lot of things went wrong with the game at half-time. We're 2-0 up, and Clive Clark had scored the two, who had been transferred from QPR to us, and he was an outstanding player. A winger getting 20 goals a season.
That's good going.
You know, how much would he cost now?
Well, my mind turns to Bale.
Yeah.
He was the last winger to do that.
He used to make goals as well for players.
Yeah.
Like the likes of Jeff and Tony Brown. Scatley was a quick player as well. He was brave. He was very brave. But he used to score goals, and he used to make goals for the players up front as well. So.
And he'd got the 2 goals against QPR, and we're thinking we've got to just keep it going. And then Rodney Marsh went over the top to the goalkeeper, Dick Shepherd, and the stud marks when we got him back in the dressing room, he got 6 stud marks in his chest. Rodney Marsh should have been sent. In today's football, he would have gone. No messing, he would have gone. And then later on in the game, I got a knock in the face and was blind. I couldn't see at all. And I'm asking to come off, and Ken Fogger would have been the first substitute. So I asked the referee, could I leave the pitch? He says, no, the only way you're going is if I send you off. So the game ended, and I ended up the game. Didn't go to reception that night. I was taken straight to Moorfields Hospital, and I was in Moorfields Hospital in a dark room for a full week. And never played for, I think it was 2 months. Never played, but the highlight is the FA Cup, and the losing at the QPR one. Those are my highs and lows.
But what about you, Mick?
Oh, I think, like I was in the squad. We used to have a squad of 15 in them days. I always thought, you know, not getting into playing the games, that was part of it. You were like, there was no subs in them days. Squad, I was squad player, like, you know, and I never really got in, but I missed that. Plus the fact then when I really got into the side, I had a bad injury which cost me nearly 6 or 7 months, nearly a full season now. And at that time, we had such a good good flow of young apprentices like Ace Hartford, Lenny Cantella. There was Moses, Turek, and you had so many good young players. Plus Bobby Oak was making his name. He was getting himself into the side regularly. Like Tony Brown, because me and Tony made our debuts within a couple of months of one another. You know, Graham Lovett came a few years later, and there's another one. But you couldn't get back in the side because it was such a good...
You had quite a special moment at 18, didn't you?
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was called up. I actually played the day before in the Central League game against Villa. We were top of the Central League, or they were top, and we were second. Yeah. And whoever won that would have won the Central League. And we got beat 1-0, and I had a terrible game. Yeah. But then Jimmy Hagan, who was the manager at the time, there was a trainer called Johnny Jarman, and he came to fetch me down my house. He said, "You're playing. Bobby Oak's unfit, you're playing." So, of course, I got up to the ground. There was a big crowd. And at the time, Everton were top of the league. It was around about March.
They were the money team.
They were a good side. They had very good players. You know,
Kendall, Ball, Harvey.
You know, they had a tremendous side. And they were top of the league. And I just appeared, like, you know, and on that day, everything just clicked. Every time I touched the ball, it went in the back of the net. To be honest, I could have scored 4 that day. And I think Willie got the odd one as well, didn't he?
I don't know, I can't remember that.
We won, free kick. You know, he just whacked it in and it went. But we won 4-2. But it was a fantastic, and I thought of, you know.
And you're still the youngest player to date to score a hat-trick.
18 years.
For West Bromwich Albion, aren't you? Yeah.
18 years.
And he's got the best memory.
Yeah. Well, he's senile now. He's too old now. Yeah, but
That's fantastic, though.
Yeah, good. But like getting back to Chippy Clark. I mean, Chippy assisted me in 2. He just go down that line and cross the ball, and if you got in the right place.
My mate's here. He scored a hat-trick.
Yeah.
And then got dropped.
It's true, that is.
So you weren't in for the next game?
Even Jimmy Hagan, I don't know whether it was just 2 of us, just be a lad called Paddy Tracy and myself, and even when we had a practice game at Spring Road in the training, he'd sort of give you we call it the substitute's finger, like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They'd go like that.
You saw those and you knew you were getting hooked.
Why me? And it was always me and Paddy, wasn't it?
Always.
Because Jimmy Hagan come on, the manager would come on and play.
Brilliant.
Because he liked to show you how to play and how he wanted you to play, because he was always a decent attacking footballer when he was at Sheffield United, you know, when he... And he'd always pick on me and Paddy, and I always think, what we done, Tracy? You know, Paddy, you know, but it was good days, and we had some good... I mean, they were feisty, them games as well, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Feisty.
The game that he used to fetch Mickey off every game, and we used to laugh about it, and we would say, Mickey, you've only got a few minutes left. The manager's looking to come on. You've only got a few minutes. And we played West Ham. The day we played West Ham, we had a practice match in the morning, 2 hours. Practice match in the morning. Because he was playing for the side that was losing. Yeah. We wouldn't stop until the manager, and then we travelled. We had a couple of sandwiches, and then we travelled down to London. Yeah. We all slept on the bus. We were shattered.
2, right? You did.
2 hours practice match.
So what are you guys up to now? What's keeping you busy?
I still work at the present moment do a little bit of academy work for Spurs. Which I thoroughly enjoy, looking at games. But we're at retirement age now, really.
Yeah, I went around a few clubs. I finished up at Telford, and I was fortunate enough to go to Wembley twice with Telford, and I got the winning goal the second year. So I went to Wembley. I actually played. I was lucky enough, Plus I went in '66 with the lads, and I was there at '68. But I wouldn't. Obviously, I was up in the stands watching and cheering them on. But I mean, I had a pub for 25 years nearly, and I had football teams, and they kept me busy, golf societies, and then I retired in 2004, and I just play golf now, don't I? Play bad golf now.
You do some charity work as well.
Yeah. We do quite a bit of charity work. Yeah, we have our own golf day, which Mick takes part in. I don't take part in it at the moment, but Mick takes part in it, and we have the Former Players Association, which I'm very grateful to our fans. For supporting us. They're brilliant, the fans, and they support us, and we have golf days and
I mean, it's a charity golf day at Warsaw Football Golf Club, and it's teams of 3, but you get to play with a former player. So you know, if anybody is interested, all they've got to do is just get in touch with
And the money goes to the
former
former players.
and the money goes to help.
How would you get involved if someone was watching and say they did want
Well,
to?
they get in touch with the former players.
Jeff Snape.
Jeff Snape, he's the champ,
Yeah.
And then has to put a team in, you know, and then you turn up. Obviously, you pay whatever it was.
And you meet the players. You meet the older players. And it's like now. It's great to talk about when we. We call ourselves when we. When we did this.
When we were,
when we were. And it's great. And the former players are great when they all chat and tell stories as we're telling you now.
Brilliant.
You just look and see who's who. Like,
you can select the player you wish to play for.
And Tony Brown normally comes. Bomber comes and presents the prizes.
He can't play because he's got bad hips.
He's got bad hips, but he normally turns up anyway. That's how how he gets. He's still involved with the lads, sort of thing, and he presents the prizes.
Well, I mean, we've talked about sort of Albion back in the '60s, back in their heyday, you could say. Let's quickly have a chat about this season. What are your thoughts?
I'm a friend. I like to think I'm a friend of Tony Pullis, Jonathan Gold, and Dave. You know, because we've played against each other, and Tony being Welsh as well. You know, and I thought it was a good signing. I know Irv Aaron as well because he was academy director at Everton before, so I've been involved with him. And Tony is a winner. Whatever he does, Tony wants to win, and he's not happy unless he's winning. And he's brought that attitude into the team. They want to win every game, or they don't. Let's put it, they don't want to lose the game.
That's very true. That's very true.
See, I honestly think with Tony, he's not just a coach because now they say coaches, but he's a coach. He's been a coach,
being a player,
but he's a manager as well. So he wants to have the last say, and he wants to do the things his way. Like you know, I think that's the difference because when we played, the managers were they managed. That's what they were called, you know, and they had the last say.
The captain had a lot more to do.
And the captain used to sort of like talk with the manager. The manager put over to the captain to tell the players, and that was how it went then.